Hey guys, this is Soundjack here from Nerdy Geek Talk, the source for all your nerdy geeky needs, with the first episode of a new series on this channel that is called Nerdy Geek Talk Reviews. This is going to be a review series that will be intended to be a bi-weekly series. We'll see how well that plays out, but hopefully it shall be every other week, where we will review an entire wave of Transformers figures. At the moment, it's just Transformers figures. I don't know if it's going to go any further than that, but just, yeah, Transformers right now, since that's the main thing we like, that all of us like, most of us like. So today we are starting with Studio Series Deluxe Class Wave 1. And joining me today is Eric. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Jared, how are you doing?
Better than I was a few days ago, but doing good, I guess.
That's good to hear. And Chrys, how are you doing?
Barely conscious. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm fine.
That's good. That's a better response than the first one.
And we can't tell them what the actual first one was. We had to cut that.
So here's how this is going to go. Because this is a podcast, we can't actually show off the toys. So on my personal YouTube channel, Soundjack426, there will be reviews of all of these figures that you can go check out. That will be linked in the description below. I hoped to get all of those reviews out before we start recording this series. Unfortunately, just new video editing stuff on my end and just other stuff in general has been preventing me from putting out reviews as frequently as I used to. So they are not all out yet, though the Bumblebee one is at the time of recording. But once they are all up, you can go into the description and check out all of those reviews. And in this, we are going to go one by one per figure and talk about what we like, what we dislike about each figure in our own personal opinion. And then at the end of the thing, we are all going to list off our preferred, our listings of our favorite figures from the wave in order from most favorite to least favorite. And then overall, we're going to calculate all of that together and figure out what is the most recommended figure of the Studio Series Deluxe Wave 1 from all of Nerdy Geek Talk, well, all of the people that regularly collect figures. So myself, Eric, Jared, Chrys, Miguel, and _ Zeus. So that's how that's going to go. So let's get into talking about the first figure of the Studio Series Wave 1 Deluxes, and that is Bumblebee. A quick couple of notes about the details of the figure himself. He is listed as number 1 in the wave. He is based on his first appearance in the Transformers live action series. He turns into a 1976 Chevrolet Camaro. In terms of accessories, he comes with his arm cannon, aka the Stinger Blaster, according to the packaging. He comes with a police chase backdrop with an image from the scene where he fought Barricade, which is a thing across all of the waves, all the Say Ice classes and all of the waves of Studio Series, as well as he contains a 22-step transformation. So now let's get into the discussion for Bumblebee. Who would like to say something about Bumblebee first?
Should we all just give our positives and negatives, or should we go positive everyone, negative everyone?
I mean, I just wrote those to make sure everyone had something to talk about. It's entirely possible people will double up on the list. I did assign everyone homework to have a list of positives and negatives for the people listening out there, but I just wanted to make sure people were thinking about the folks on the podcast were actually thinking about the toys in a bit of detail. But yeah, let's do that. Let's do a positive and then a negative and flip between people. So we'll start with a whole round of positives from each of us, and we'll see how that goes. So Eric, start us off. What is your first positive about Bumblebee?
So my positives for Bumblebee is, well, he's the one I got most recently out of the entire wave of Studio Series. Any price point, he's the last one I got. Just because I was kind of looking forward to him the least. But I was pleasantly surprised. And the main thing I would say in terms of that's like been a plus for me and positive is that the transformation's actually kind of nostalgic to me. It's not like dead on or anything, obviously, but just the way he transforms is pretty similar. How he just like kind of lays down and the stuff, you know, flops over him and everything. Like just the way that he transforms does remind me of how he actually did transform in that one scene after he fought Barricade. So I actually really like that, and then his arm cannon's also really good. So those are my positives for Bumblebee.
Nice. Jared, what are positives you have about Bumblebee?
My a positive for me is kind of like Eric's. I just like the transformation, and I'm pretty sure I'm like the only person on the entire planet who actually got this figure that doesn't have the problems that everybody else has. Because
You're falling off roof.
no, it can if like I'm just like manhandling it and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure I have the only like figure in this mold that is able to fully transform into vehicle mode without having a pop off once.
Wow, you're lucky.
Yeah, incredibly.
Yeah, I just like the overall look of the figure, and I'm pretty sure like the old Camaro B was the first movie figure that I ever got as a kid, so that might have something to do with why I like this figure so much. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. Since Chris just stepped out, it seems I will go next with my positives. So for the first positive I have is that this is the big important thing about this figure to me is that this is the only toy of Bumblebee in his 76 Camaro body that is not from the first movie, and the first movie one is a pilot car at a deluxe size scale. There are Legion size, whatever they were called when in the 2007 era, that were of the 76 Camaro body, but this Bumblebee, the Studio Series Bumblebee, and the Bumblebee from the first movie are the only ones in the 76 Camaro body. I really like that body just because that there was actually some bit of emotion involved with that point in the film. So I really like that, and it's nice to have a nicer looking representation of the of that body type. As well, I also very much appreciate how his so if you don't know, his arm blaster attaches to his body by detaching his right forearm, and then replacing and putting the arm cannon where the forearm was. What's nice is that the storage for it, while it is on his butt, if you have the arm back there, the arm hides really well. So like I can have that on his butt, and it doesn't look like he's hiding anything back there. But I will say that point does lead into a negative that I'll talk about right now, and that the blaster does not store conveniently back there. It's very obvious that the hand blaster is stored back there, but which is a tad annoying to me. But this is a minor negative. But the arm stores there fabulously. If anyone else has any positives. Since it seems Chris.
I have positives.
Oh, Chris is here. Chris is back. Hooray. Okay.
Yeah, I got my lunch now.
I just heard there were texts going on my phone next to me. I didn't know what was being said.
They left the cheese off my burger.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't have much positives for Bumblebee. It's Bumblebee. He's yellow. Yellow's a good color.
Okay.
He's not awful. There's certainly been worse Transformers. But I just don't have much positive to say about it.
Okay. So then let's start with you talking about some negatives about Bumblebee, shall we?
Boy! Okay.
Some. Let's do like two from you, and then we'll spread around to everyone else, and then we'll talk about other points we have about the figure to discuss.
I mean, the roof thing's already been mentioned, so I'm not going to bring that up, but oh my god. He's all floppy. At least with mine, he's floppy. The limbs, especially the cannon arm, it just
So QC is bad on yours.
Yeah, very.
Yeah,
Do you
because
hear
I
that?
will say that my Bumblebee is pretty solid on his joints. I think the feet,
Same.
I think the feet are a little loose on mine, but not terribly.
How fortunate you are.
Jared is the most fortunate of us, however.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Jared, why don't you talk about your negatives? Since if I list all mine, we'll be here all day.
My negative will actually be the roof thing because even though mine doesn't really struggle with it, I feel like that just really like kills the figure for a lot of people, and the fact that they could have in my opinion, anyways, they probably could have easily just ran a pin right through the that friction joint and just made it stay there forever,
Amen.
pretty much.
Yeah, there's a lot of places where I feel like they could have put pins in instead of having stuff that could pop out easily, but alas.
Yeah.
Anything else for you or no?
One more thing. It's a minor complaint, but he could be. I would like it if he was like a little bit taller, but it's not the end of the world, really.
That's a problem with the line, not
Yeah.
the figure. So.
Yeah, that's.
So for mine, I have obviously everyone's mentioned the pins would be nice and stuff, but the things I have are more about the like the sculpt / engineering of the figure, and that is the forearms are a bit flat. Do you know what I'm like? I feel like they're kind of squished, like as opposed to how he's in the movie. They're a little bit more out. They're angled out a little bit, whereas this figure they're like almost rectangular, which is definitely they're a little more flared out in the movie.
I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's for
That-
transformation that it's like that. I'm almost certain.
Yeah, that space under that hood is really tight. So
Exactly.
yeah,
That's why I was gonna say. I know why they have to. It's just that's one thing that does feel slightly off. The other thing, which I'm pretty sure is one of Soundjack's, is the chest is off. At least I thought you mentioned that before. That you didn't like that before. Maybe it was before the figure came out. But you mentioned how the transform, like how his chest, the toy's chest, isn't quite matching up with the movies because the movies is a very specific way. It's almost like the top of his torso is very square and rectangular, and the bottom isn't, and that's like it's more. It blends together nicer in the movie than this figure does, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's not quite my point about the chest, but it's kind of similar. And if you're done with your negatives,
I have one more real quick. The peg. I really like the way they did the switching out the forearm and the cannon. I like that. Mine is just the slightest bit. Like I wish it plugged in a little tighter for the arm for me. The cannon plugs in tight, but the arm's a little loose. Not like it'll fall out, but it make me a little more comfortable. It was tighter. So.
Mine's that way too.
yeah, actually, now you mentioned that is. I'm pretty sure that's how mine works.
And
So
let's see.
that might just be a thing, but it is fortunate. It just isn't easy to fall out. Though,
Wow, mine.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Jared's is very solid. Jared is showing off.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I actually didn't like notice that until just now. Sorry.
I'm just going to say this because it piggybacks off of Eric's point to an extent. It's not one of the points I wrote down as a negative, but sometimes when I'm pulling the arm or the cannon off, it won't pop out of the point, and it will like pull the lower part of that elbow joint off with it.
Oh, I've never had that. Huh.
Yeah, like it hasn't happened to me a whole lot, but like that hinge is a friction joint.
Yeah.
And I guess every now and then it just that gives before the post gives. So it's just tiny and a little bit annoying. And every time I have to put it back on, I accidentally put it on backwards. But that's not one of my main points. I just wanted to mention that. But to talk about what Eric was talking about, like with my complaints of the chest, it's more so that like the top is really, really square, and while unless they like did a whole lot to make it a lot less square, that would probably make it either smaller or more expensive. I mean, I can live with that. The biggest problem I have is how it's square, so square to a point, and with his pointy shoulders, it's hard to get certain angles out of his arm articulation because the top
Did notice that.
into the squareness of his chest. It's a tad unfortunate.
Agreed.
But another negative point that is also annoying in terms of like mobility, not really mobility, but like if you have Bumblebee standing in a default T-pose, how the bumpers work, it's very easily possible to have the bumpers be touching from the opposite legs just because how much they jut out. And that's really weird to see to me. Like when you got him in a wide stance pose, that's not even a concern to me. But I don't have room on my shelf to have all my figures in a wide standing pose. So he's standing very close, and then like the bumpers are touching from the opposite legs, and I'm like, that's just weird.
Yeah, that's just one thing I've noticed.
Although there's nothing weird about two bumpers touching.
Anyways.
But I do want to say to counter that point with another positive I have. Is that I do really like that leg transformation is very different, very original, very unique, and you don't see that anymore. And that's just fun once you figure it out, because getting it out of vehicle mode, it's just like, wait, which way does this bend? Does this bend this way or does it bend that way? But yeah. So Chrys, you had some more negatives to talk about. What else you got?
We've hit most of them.
Oh, we have hit most.
Oh, I have one thing that I literally just noticed now. This is the only one from the wave that I have in my hand as we're recording this. But so I mentioned the forearms. He has yellow with gray plastic on his hand forearms, but on the cannon, the same detailing on his forearm. Like the cannon itself is silver. I don't mind that. It's the same detailing on the forearm, the outside of the forearm, that is the same as his regular forearm, but it's silver instead of gray plastic, which doesn't match his left arm whenever you have the cannon arm on. Now, if you have both of his arms with hands, it's fine, you don't notice it. The reason why is because this piece is yellow plastic, whereas the one with the hand is gray plastic with painted yellow. The cannon is yellow plastic with silver painted on. That's why you don't get the gray. It's just a small thing that once you notice it might bug you a little bit, but
that was another one of my points, honestly. So I'm glad you brought it up. But it is also a bit weird that like his face, the cannon, and his feet are all silver, and then like the arms are gray. I kind of wish that was a bit more even, just to make it a little. Like again, the face and the feet, and then the arm being silver and the arms being gray is fine. It's the cannon, especially that bit on the arm that is supposed to be the arm, being silver, just a little weird to me.
Yeah.
But again, it's understandable why, since it was molded in yellow. They didn't want to paint gray, I guess.
I have one other issue, is that this Bumblebee is orange, and he shouldn't be.
You're wrong. This is not orange.
This is... Oh, wait, this is Bisque. Never mind. Also, it's Legion class. That probably should have been my first clue.
Or your poor attempt at a joke. But anyways.
Or, yeah. That too.
I do have a couple of more notes, because there were quite a few things I had to say about this Bumblebee. Just because, I mean, Bumblebee is such an important character in the films. There's a lot to get right and or wrong about Bumblebee. One thing, very minor thing, that's really more of an point rather than a negative or a positive, is I think this might be one of the first Deluxes or one of the very few Deluxes to have the secondary wings on his back.
Mm-hmm.
But they point down. Hey. But they point downward. They point to straight downward rather than an angle, even though it looks like there's some kind of pin at the base of the gray where that little yellow bit that is the secondary wing is. So I'm like, did they cut like a hinge there to angle that out a bit more?
I think that's just to keep the clear plastic part on top pinned in. But I know it looks deceivingly like, that can go in, but that's really just to keep the clear plastic piece in.
That's for the clear plastic. Okay, that's definitely just a toy design thing I was not aware of. Again, like I said, more of an point, but I was like, that's weird.
My Bumblebee is missing some pieces.
Yeah.
Where are your pieces, my friend?
And I only had two other notes about the alternate mode, besides the fact that I really like it overall and it looks really good in vehicle mode. But the bright clear windows, you just see all of the kibble inside, which is a thing with a bunch of Transformers, but like it's just so much kibble on the inside. Though the most negative thing I can say is just because of how the real world car is shaped, the bumper, like the back end, like goes up at a sharp angle. So that means if you're looking at it from the side, you see a lot of underneath kibble from the side, which is a tad annoying and kind of ruins the iconic shape of that like car body.
Yeah, that actually was one of the notes that I had in my notes, I guess. That I was gonna say.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I jumped the gun. I should have saved all of my stuff.
No, you're good.
I'll know that for the next round. But are there any other positive or negative or other notes that you have on Bumblebee?
I want to say good choice of the body for this character, because obviously it's the first wave of a line. You're going to get an Optimus Prime and a Bumblebee. I think that they did a good choice. They made a good choice picking the old Camaro Bumblebee, not doing just straight up the first Bumblebee that the Bumblebee that's in every movie.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good choice to do that. I'm curious what other bodies we'll get for Bumblebee in this line, but I think that this was definitely a solid place to start for a movie like recap line. That picking the original one that has not been revisited at all was a very smart move, and I'm glad that is what they did.
Yeah, I agree.
Agree with that. And anything else from you, Eric?
I think that's it.
Jared, anything else from you?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
How about you, Chrys? Do you have any last notes or comments on Bumblebee?
He is yellow. I wish he had the drop down mask, like the Age of Extinction toy, which was redone.
Did he use that in the
he used it
in the movie with that body?
Oh well, no, I don't know if he did use it with that body, but he had it. He just don't know if he used it.
Though that would be a nice piece to though. Oh, that is a thing I never wrote in my notes that I can say. And this doesn't necessarily just apply to Bumblebee, but does apply to a lot of the smaller Deluxes. I wish the main one for this wave is Bumblebee, but I wish for Bumblebee they threw in a couple of more pieces to balance the budget a bit. But truly, there's not really anything this specific body does that you could do. The other things you could have done would have been from the 08 Camaro Bumblebee, which is used in the same movie as the first movie Bumblebee, which would have been giving him an alternate head with the face mask, as well as potentially giving him his shoulder cannons.
Oh, I forgot about the shoulder cannons.
Mm-hmm. And I
he has shoulder cannons?
Because it took me so long to figure out why the 07 movie's 76 Camaro Bumblebee had those two cannons that could plug into his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, it's a one scene thing, and we're like, oh, that'd be neat to just again fill out the box a little bit more. But
I don't remember those, but
he uses them when he after he loses his legs, he's hooked up to the tow truck, and Michaela's driving backwards.
Well, that was the 08 Bumblebee, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is the 08 Bumblebee, but I was
gonna say, were you listening to his point? His point was that
I guess not. Okay.
Yeah, his point was that there are other accessories, but they don't go with his body.
Okay. I misunderstood that.
From that movie, so if you wanted to justify it, that's the way you could have done it.
Okay.
Because you don't actually see. I don't think you actually see those shoulder cannons in any of the other films.
No.
So, again. Yes, I was just going to say that was going to be my last point. No one else has anything. So let's move on to the second figure of the wave. It is Stinger, who on his box is labeled as the second figure of the entire series. He comes from Age of Extinction, obviously. That's the only film he appeared in. His alternate mode is Pagani.
Huera. Pagani Huera,
Yeah,
I
thank you.
believe.
Thank you. Among his accessories,
Jesus.
for his accessories, he includes 4 shuriken. The backdrop he comes with is the Hong Kong Pursuit backdrop, and he features a 21-step transformation. Jared, let's start with you this time. What are your positives for Stinger?
I like the look and the color of the figure. First of all, just anything red and black, I'm automatically all for pretty much. Second thing is I love his transformation. Just that you're gonna hear that a lot when we're talking about this guy because it's just not complex, but like something that we just haven't seen before.
It's different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, different. Like
If I
different
may,
that we like it. Sorry.
yeah, I was just saying, if I can, I just want to say, when I first got this figure, I like had a bit of a time trying to figure out like exactly how everything goes because it is such a different transformation. But when I got it into its alternate mode, it clicked so well and everything fit perfectly into place and it looked so good. And I was just so pleased that I got that transformation where the transformation is just so good. I'm sorry, I hijacked that point, but I feel very strongly about that transformation. Okay.
I'm with you.
You got anything else to say right now, Jared, for positive, or are those your 2 points? Did you say 2?
Those were the 2 points, I think.
Okay. Chrys, what are 2 positives you have on Stinger?
My positives are the transformation, again, is just amazing. It's so very unique. I like how the figure looks. Just in both modes, it's really cool. And like the way the shurikens go on the back, I like how that looks. But we'll get into more of that when we talk about things we don't like about the figure as well.
Yeah.
But I just I mean, was there a deluxe Stinger with Age of Extinction?
No.
Oh.
Only in
So-
Japan, and it was just the Bumblebee mold red.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so like, yeah, this is the first Stinger toy we've gotten, so that's a bonus.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, that's my stuff.
Yeah. Eric, what are your 2 positives?
So I'm really glad that Stinger got a new mold, which is basically what she just said. That like, yay, Stinger got a mold. I think that it was also a smart choice to have a character from the like. I think they had a healthy balance overall with Studio Series for the first wave. I was worried that it would be like we're only revisiting the first movie whenever they announced that like they were doing Studio Series, or like we're only revisiting like the first 2 or so. We already have one from the 4th movie, and he's not the only one from the 4th movie that is in this line. In this particular wave of Deluxes, he's the only one. But
Yeah.
I was glad, like, 'cause Age of Extinction is one of my favorite to have designs from. It's not one of the best movies, but it is a movie that I was very, very excited for at the time, and so I always I got very caught up in the designs and stuff. I hope we get a Galvatron at some point to go with this Stinger, because there aren't many figures that really you can put with this Stinger. Like, Stinger interacts with Bumblebee in that body. Galvatron, he's next to for a little bit, and then I think he's on top of what's the name of the
Strafe.
Yeah, Strafe. I would keep wanting to say Swoop. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
not Swoop. But yeah, so I just gotta say good character choice, and then I really like his accessories. While his gun is not an accessory, that's also a bonus because I like it when guns are like actually attached, but he can also fold it to the side, not super well, but he can at least deploy the cannon. I like that type of thing where the weapon is part of the figure. Like, I like that when it's not a separate piece that has nowhere to go. But then also, he comes with 4 shurikens. So, unlike Bumblebee, I feel like he has a lot that you can say justifies his size. Plus, I think his transformation is a bit more complex than Bumblebee's. If I had to guess, his part count's probably a little higher, but I don't know. So, yeah, I gotta say, those are definitely the things I like about him for sure.
All right. As for me, then, the main thing is certainly the the toy overall just looks really good. Both robot and vehicle of the toy is just beautiful. There are obviously some extra bits of vehicle kibble that are there that aren't in the movie design, but the movie design wasn't designed to look like it would one-to-one.
It didn't transform, actually.
Yeah, it
I was going to
didn't.
say, so.
So I don't mind it as much. The shoulder, the bumper, the front end of the car on the top of the shoulders is great. The wheel, the back end of the car going on the back of his leg is fine. And everything else folds away very nicely. There's not a massive backpack going on there. The only thing that's like really kibblicious is that arm cannon. But again, it's an arm cannon. It's supposed to do that. And then everyone already mentioned the crap. I already mentioned the crap out of the transformation. So let's move on to some of the negatives. Eric, negative from.
This is going to sound really dumb to those who listen to me all the time, but forearms. I swear to God, one of the coolest parts of his design, I think, if you look at concept art for Stinger especially, is that his forearm designs are kind of like Bumblebee. They're obviously Bumblebee inspired, but they're like kind of wacky, but like cool. They're really intricate though, and they didn't even attempt to replicate it, because that's just where the sides of the cars, they had to put it, and so like it's not like, oh, it's close but not there. Like they did not even try. They're totally flat, which part of me is just like, oh, I don't like that. But you know, it's they tried to get as much as possible.
For a third-party company to come out with a forearm upgrade for him.
You know, I'd prefer just to have. I want to see someone take a stab at a movie masterpiece Stinger, even though he's not that important. I think that it's such a cool design; it warrants a figure, especially if Hot Rod already got one. I'm just saying.
And I think it's managed to pull a Lockdown that did all of the things.
Is it Lockdown? Yeah, Lockdown was an amazing one. There's an Optimus from this era that is also amazing in terms of what it does. So I feel like if you could pull off transformations that shouldn't be able to be done, that Stinger should be one that you'd prove too. Because yeah, I think that's honestly my only negative. He's my favorite figure from the wave. Yeah, there's not. I honestly can't think of anything else to really complain about him, because he's a pretty sweet figure. So.
All right, so Chris, what are your negatives on Stinger?
Again, those shurikens, they're. Excuse me, I apologize. Sorry, I just drank some soda, so.
You're good.
They're very thin plastic, so they crack easily, but it's like just. Oh my God!
Wait, yours are cracked?
Like, well, they're tiny cracks, to the point where the shurikens don't stay on anymore. There's too much give.
Oh, mine has not had that happen.
Mine are. I thought the shurikens were rubbery, because mine feel pretty rubbery.
Mine are
soft plastic.
Yeah, I was gonna say mine aren't rubbery, but they're like, I don't even know if they're soft plastic. It's just because they are kind of thin, but they aren't brittle. Like yours sound like they're brittle.
They're brittle, yeah.
Mine are not.
They're not like visible cracks, but they're like, I could hear like a tiny crinkle when I put them on.
That's not the same thing as a crack.
A crinkle? Well, I say a crinkle, but it's like a tiny crack sound, not like a loud crack. I'm not describing it very well.
Well, but you just said that there are cracks. If you can't see it, I don't think there's a crack. It's just like the plastic's not fitting on as well.
It's like a hairline thing. It has to be. The point is that they don't stay on very well anymore.
But they used to stay on pretty well.
Yes, and they used to stick on perfectly. Now I've got maybe one that'll stick on perfectly still. The rest are missing and don't fit.
Odd. I hope that's just an individual QC thing, because I have not had that whatsoever. So.
Other than that, I really don't have many other complaints. This was I think I said this was my #1 figure, so obviously I really like it.
Gotta say, I think this was a lot of people's #1 figures from this first wave of the Deluxes.
Except Jared.
Yeah.
I do have one other thing I do like, though.
In terms of the numbers, I'm just saying from
I do have one other thing I do like that I know we're talking about negatives right now, but I just want to bring it up real quick. Was the arm cannon? I know it's not movie accurate or anything, but I just like how it looks like a scoop.
I mean, it is kind of close. He did have an arm cannon that was that general shape. It was just red and had more detailing.
Right. Yeah. I just like it because it's like a scoop. You can just like scoop it in your enemies and then blow them up. I like it. Death scoop. Fingers death scoop. Anyway, that's me. So.
Jared, what are your negatives?
I don't have many. I do have the same problem, Chrys, a little bit, where the shurikens don't really stay on all that well, and it does seem like whenever I like fiddle with a figure, it's kind of easy whenever I have them like stored or pegged onto like the little thing on his back. If I'm like moving his arms or something, it's kind of easy for me to accidentally like knock him off and knock him to the ground, and possibly like accidentally lose him or something like that. And yeah, Eric, you said like the forearms. I do agree with that. They could have a little bit more detail instead of just being flat. But other than that,
I was gonna say we're just weirdos that like forearms. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Or obviously the most attractive part of any robot.
It's true though.
That's why Eric likes Bisk so much, because he's just got big meaty forearms.
Oh my god, he does. He actually does.
Well,
that
he doesn't really have forearms.
You know what I mean. What would be the forearm is just anyway, off topic. For me, yeah, I'm just going to kind of piggyback on the last three. The shurikens are annoying. When I first put them in, I think they were a little tight, and like I tried to push one onto the post, and it popped off, and it fell into my couch, and I haven't been able to find it since.
Oh, that's sad.
I can't do a full-on proper review of the figure because the first day I played with him, I lost the shuriken. So I'm just gonna be like,
man, you a new one, Soundjack. Find one.
If you would, that'd be really nice. Thank you.
I'll just toss it in an envelope.
Toss it in a little envelope. Put it like
with some glitter.
No glitter, because that won't ever get off that shuriken.
Exactly. I'll know which one's. We'll both know which one's mine.
It's fair. And the only other real negative thing I have to say is not even really a negative. It's just like his crotch is at a really weird angle.
I did notice that.
Because like how it's molded and how you would expect it to mold if you got the legs oriented the way correctly. Like Bisk is like leaning so far back, so in order to have him standing straight, you gotta angle that crotch down a bit, and it just kind of juts down strangely, which is not something that most Transformers have. Like, it's kind of there because of how the transformation works with all the things turning on themselves, but it's still.
Wait, are you saying it like juts out a little bit?
Well, it juts downward. It juts down at an angle.
I mean, isn't that part of the design?
The
character design, I think, had like a weird kind of crotch skirt thing that like it went down a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's part of the character design, if I'm thinking of what you're talking about, but
I mean, I can show you through the Skype chat. It's just like how this bit just comes down at that angle, like that. I don't know. I just find that weird because no other robots really have that. The same extent, like other Transformers, like have something there, but it doesn't jut at that kind of an angle. It's just odd to me.
Yeah.
Again, just me. You can think differently. Which is why there's a whole group of us talking about it.
Yep.
Because Soundjack's boring. What?
Get off the show.
Get off my lawn.
Anyone else have any comments?
He's awesome.
Comments?
Jared's crazy for not putting him at number 1.
He was a close second, all right.
I like his background too.
Oh yeah.
Although I kind of
Oh.
wish it had been him on Strafe, but
Ooh,
you know,
that would
I feel like that'd be a cool skyline one. Like if it was the city from like a bird's point of view, and you could just see little bits of like Strafe's like tail and like maybe a wing or something. I'd be like, that'd be cool. But
That'd be neat.
alas,
Agreed.
But
maybe we'll get that with Bumblebee if they do a Age of Extinction Bumblebee.
true.
No, they probably will. Money,
Yeah.
There's money to be made.
oh, yeah. But moving on to the third figure in the wave is Crowbar, who is listed as number 3 for the entirety of Studio Series. He comes from Dark of the Moon. He turns into a Chevrolet Suburban. He has his 2 spiked staff spear thingies. I don't.
You say that he uses in the movie that are reused from the Berserker figure from last night.
Yes. He comes with the high-speed chase backdrop from the highway scene where they were on for a bit, and features a 20-step transformation. Chris, what are your positives?
He's a bit he's better that he improves upon the Berserker mold. Because with Berserker, he has those bits of armor on his forearms that would pop off when you're transforming him, which would I don't know if I'm the only one that had it like this, but it was just a. If you don't want me saying this word, you can censor it. He was a to transform. Seriously, it was like a freaking puzzle box.
Berserker, you're saying?
Yeah, Berserker. He was like a puzzle box because you get one side, and then stuff would pop off on the other side. So you put it back on. By the time you get it pop back on, sorry, Eric, you get it pop back on, and it's just the other side. And you see where I'm going with this? But with this, they're screwed in, or I think so. They don't pop off. That makes it easier. It's just it's better Berserker.
Okay.
He's just superior toy to Berserker. Like I mentioned, he's tied for my second favorite in the line.
Nice.
For good reason.
Nice. So those are your positives.
Yeah, because I did like the Berserker toy. It was just transforming. It sucked.
I didn't think it was that bad.
I did.
Maybe I just got a
know
crap
what
one
Chris
then.
talking about because I haven't had them pop off on mine, but I have definitely like fiddled with him a little too much at the arms, and they have fallen off, but they've never fallen off of me during the transformation. And he is a little tighter to get transformed for me, but this is actually getting into a negative on Crowbar for me. I personally find Crowbar harder to keep in vehicle mode all lined up. Personally.
Yeah, I don't think the hair helps.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's another one of my negatives, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Eric, positives from you about Crowbar.
Positives. I'm glad they put a Dark of the Moon. I think this is the only Dark of the Moon figure in the line so far.
No, there was one other,
Who?
but that's Voyager.
No, there was not.
Thundercracker?
That's not Dark of the Moon. He's not in a movie.
He is Dark of the Moon.
It's labeled as Dark of the Moon?
It does not count. He's not from the movie. It's
Okay.
concept art, which they've mentioned that some things on the line are from the. I was gonna say even if it says it, he's not in the movie, so it doesn't count in terms of. I'm
Fair
talking
enough.
about actual character choice from the actual movies. So Crowbar is the only character from Dark of the Moon, which I'm glad got some love because, in my opinion, that's the best Transformers movie to me. And
I
like
agree.
and I'm glad that we got another Dread, because now we have two. Because Berserker technically isn't one of them, but he obviously is one of them. So now we just need
when they have the exact same alternate mode.
exactly,
Yeah.
and so all we need now is it Hatchet? Is that his name?
Hatchet.
We need a studio series. That's like that. After getting Crowbar, it's just like it's not a like wish list. It needs to happen. I will be very angry if it doesn't happen because we have two of the three, and they aren't super important to me. But if you give me two out of the three, I better get that third. Plus, who doesn't want a doggy? But anyways,
With heads.
yeah. Crowbar positives. So obvious character choice. I think the head sculpt's really nice on him in particular. I like his fangs, and then I really like his dreads, his hair. They're also a negative, but in terms of robot mode, I really like that they went all out and they gave him the massive long dreads that he has. They made it right. It's a pain later. But yeah, those are my positives, I'd have to say.
Jared, what about you? What are your positives on Crowbar?
I like the detail on the figure a little bit. I do, like Eric said, like the head sculpt. I do think it's a pretty good head sculpt, and I like his like spike murder weapon things. I think they're awesome for some reason.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, I can't really think of anything at the moment.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, for positives, I gotta say he does look really good with Berserker. They do with the Berserker. He's just crankcase, just so as the studio series line could get started before it actually got started. I'm pretty sure. I feel like, as well as that though, it's also nice that while the alt modes end up being the same, which is also a very good positive since they are supposed to be the same as in movies, but the robot modes do look very different from each other. I mean, I think there are some shared pieces. I think mostly like in the arms and maybe the thighs, but like it's all minor stuff.
I think the crotch is shared too.
Crotch,
I believe.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I do see that. Yeah, but like forearms are painted differently to make that look more distinct than crotch, and thighs are not the most looked at parts of the figure to tell different.
Oh, I beg to differ.
So I have a question in terms of, like, you said that you think that Berserker was made intentionally, like almost as a pre-tool for studio series. So you think that Berserker was, at the time Berserker was made, that was the intention? Because
that is what my statement did imply, but I mean,
I kind of think that it was like because Berserker was. If Berserker wasn't in The Last Night, I'd buy that. The only thing is, Berserker's in The Last Night, even for like a small cameo. But I don't think they'd be like, "Hey, we want to make this toy as a pre-tool for another line. So can you give that character a quick cameo in the movie?" So my thinking is that they happened to start development around the same time, or right after they started making Berserker, and that's when they we're like, oh, you know what? We might as well use that character in studio series, the Crowbar, because we had this model that we could take from. So, like, slightly different, but around the same thing, yeah.
So more of a happy accident.
Yeah, I think my guess is it was a happy accident, not a intentional thing, or even not even necessarily a happy accident. It might have been, although kind of that they were just like. They did Crowbar. I'm curious. Basically, what I'm saying is, I don't know if we would have gotten Crowbar if we didn't get Berserker. Like if Berserker hadn't appeared, I don't know if Crowbar would have been in the line, or at least the first wave. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
We may never know.
Yeah, we may never know. But I will say it is very weird that Berserker is in the film so very little and got most of the toys outside of Megatron for the Decepticons.
Well, Barricade.
And Barricade, yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
How did I forget him? Let's get on to some negatives about Berserker. Let's start with Eric.
Wait, about Crowbar, not Berserker.
About Crowbar. Did I say Berserker?
You did. But it's okay.
Whoops.
Negative. One of the negatives is shared with Berserker because it's his weapons. They're soft plastic, they're like a rubbery plastic, which they need to be because they have lots of sharp, well, not sharp, but they have points on them. And if you made that hard plastic, it'd be easy to break, and it wouldn't be fun to stab little kids' eyes out and stuff. But it's annoying how poorly they stay, especially not even necessarily in his hands. That they're pretty easy to knock out, but like they're supposed to have those little hooks so they can store on the panel on his back. I don't think they stay very well, if at all, for me. So that's kind of annoying, but it's not the worst thing. The other thing is, as I mentioned with the dreads, they really get in the way. They're not fun. Oops. They're not fun for transformation. I like them in robot mode, but for transformation, his hair is very annoying. That's about it for me. Otherwise, he's just like, he doesn't do anything for me that's super amazing, but he doesn't do anything that's like super bad either. He's just the most meh figure of the wave for me.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, I will say. But, Jared, what are your negatives on Crowbar?
Okay, so my negatives would be, like Eric said, the dreads get in the way a lot during the transformation. Because like whenever you're trying to tab like the like rear part of the Suburban all together, they just all get in the way because of the type of soft plastic that they are, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult than one would care for to get all tabbed together. And whenever he's actually in the Suburban mode, for me, he can't stay on all four wheels because of the hair. Like, it makes him like jut up a little bit, so the rear wheels don't actually touch it. Another little minor complaint is he is a little bland. I would have liked a little bit more paint in the robot mode just to brighten him up a little bit. But other than that, and the little forearm or like little spike weapons not really tabbing in together or tabbing in all that securely, that's basically it.
Okay. Chrys, your negatives?
The vehicle mode still is hard to get into, though it's, as I said, a lot easier than Berserker. Like Eric said, the weapon tabbing is difficult, and I really don't have much bad to say other than the transformation still kind of sucking. The only reason this toy is a number 2 is because I just like Stinger more. This is honestly a good one in my opinion. Not perfect by all means, but when you compare to the others in the line, personal taste, yeah. But not really much I can say negative that hasn't been said. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. The main negative that has been stated is that the dreads are in the way. They are massive. They are soft, rubbery plastic. You can't control where they go pretty much. They get into a shape, they're going to stay in that shape unless you get a hairdryer to them. What would have been nice, but probably understandable why they didn't do it just for budget reasons, is if instead of being soft rubber, they had a wire in them that you could pose specifically, and that would definitely make the transformation. So the transformation's a lot easier, and also you can get those dreads in a lot of interesting poses, which also would support my thought of him being like the hacker of the group, and he uses the dreads, kind of like Soundwave has those tentacles.
Huh.
Like,
Never
I like
thought
that.
of that, mainly because they just run around like animals, but
Yeah.
I like that idea.
She
Headcanon.
actually had personality. Crankcase would be like the boss. Crowbar would be this because he's also Crowbar's also the skinnier, slenderer guy, and he's kind of like, yes, and he's probably like hunched over a computer while he's hacking into a terminal and like crowbarring doors open with his dreads. That'd be cool.
Hacker voice, I'm in.
I like this headcanon for the character of Crowbar, who has never had someone think about him for more than 10 seconds.
I'm using this headcanon Soundjack. Thank you. I actually really like it.
And then Hatchet is actually a very intelligent beast that gets into a vicious rage. Just because the wiki has like a lot of very smart quotes on Hatchet's for captions on Hatchet's pictures. And
good. Sorry.
Now we just need a movie that can actually canonize that.
Which we'll never get.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope. And I was gonna say, now we just need a studio side swipe, and we can have that little
Yeah, I was gonna say
standoff
we're
scene.
getting Ironhide. We already know about Ironhide, so now we need Hatchet and Sideswipe.
Mm-hmm.
Although
Well, we
I
don't
mean
need
Hatchet. Hatchet isn't in that scene. Well, he's in that scene, just not that shot of the
because
the
he's
specific
already
standoff.
dead on
Yeah,
the
I was
highway.
gonna say he dies on
Yeah.
the highway, but it is. I would count that as one scene, the highway chase, which ends with the standoff. But yeah, that's one I've won from the second we found out what Studio Series is. I'm like Sideswipe.
Yes.
Oh yes.
I cannot wait to see what they do with Sideswipe. I'm sure they're going to do it. I feel, quick side tangent, I have the feeling that next year's Studio Series will be a lot of Revenge of the Fallen because it is going to be the 10-year anniversary of Revenge of the Fallen.
Oh hey, yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So, and there were a lot of new characters in Revenge of the Fallen, to be honest.
And I was gonna say we've already gotten some decent. We've gotten Revenge of the Fallen Optimus, Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. I guess
Yeah.
that's all we've gotten so far. But those are the two
Don't
big
forget
characters.
Blackout Grindor to just complete the scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say because we need that Starscream too, which I bet we will get in 2019. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But as of right now, we already have the entire fourth scene. I literally, I posted a picture of it whenever I first got Voyager Megatron a while ago. I still have that like entire setup, and it's literally right behind me. And I have to watch where I sit from now on because I don't want to end up accidentally crunching one of them.
But actually, the talking about other characters and other films is actually a point I do have about Crowbar. And that point is Crowbar exists. Dreadbot from the last night is based on that mold. So Hasbro, please release Decepticon VW bus toy in Studio Series.
But as funny as I would be, I don't want that to take the place of something I actually want.
Like if the line runs its runs.
Yeah, for a long time. I don't know. I just,
But
as someone who
also-
is an actual fan of the movies, like there are a lot of characters that I'm like, I actually want that, but
Yeah.
that
I mean,
would be pretty
if they
funny.
had to
though.
pick one of the characters from from the last night that didn't get a toy, I'd want them to pick that guy. Since also, admittedly the toys. There's not a lot of Redico retool potential.
That is
for-
one, yeah.
So, and that is a relatively easy one compared to some of the other toys.
I would
Some
say
of the other-
I would want Mohawk only because I feel like that'd be interesting, and we haven't really gotten a movie motorcycle Decepticon.
and you'll have to pay $20 for a toy that's smaller than Jazz.
Yep.
Oh God, maybe he
That's
be the
all-
first
that's
and
the-
only Legends class.
That's mainly the reason why I'm staying away from Mohawk unless he comes packaged in with another character.
That's true. That's true.
Onslaught, perhaps Voyager or Leader Onslaught.
I'd take it.
I mean,
And you know
they-
what? That's
me
not
too.
impossible because we got a mini Scorponok, so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You need a bigger door.
I'm more than just a pretty face, you know.
That also means we could get a long haul if they did Onslaught.
Yeah.
Which
Was
means we
he-
could get a
Were they the same body? Were they the
Not
same body type?
but they are based on the same body shape. I'm certain it would be a heavy retool, but we've seen from Titan's Return and Power of the Primes they can do heavy retools.
I highly doubt those, though. I feel like those characters aren't important enough in either film. But we'll see.
Okay, but this toy line will end up being very short if they just do the important characters because they've already touched them.
Well, yeah,
They're
but
done.
I mean characters that are at least not... They're around for more than a scene.
Fair. So, I think that's all my points on Crowbar. Anyone else have any other points on Crowbar?
No, I'm good.
Same. I can't think of anything else.
I think
Okay.
I've said all that can be said.
All right, cool. And then we'll get on to the last figure that we are talking about in this video, Ratchet, who is listed as number 4 in the entirety of Studio Series. His body is from the first movie, which was also seen in the second movie. He turns into a Hummer H2 emergency vehicle modification. He comes with a buzzsaw accessory as well as the Mission City battle backdrop. and features an 18-step transformation. Who do I start with today? This for this.
Start with me because I have some memories of this one.
Chrys, go ahead. Yeah.
This was actually my first movie Transformers movie toy. Well, the original Voyager version.
Original Voyager.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
I've got some good fond memories of playing with Movie Ratchet. I really liked this one. It was tied for second with Crowbar, like I said. The transformation is simple, concise, solid. I wish he had come with more accessories than just the buzzsaw shield, but
What else did he use in the first movie?
I don't know. But I know the toy had the scissor thingies.
Was his laser anything than just like a? I thought he just tapped his wrist when he did that.
Yeah, I thought it was just built in. But I kind of wish it had. I wish the cage on the top of the vehicle mode, well, for lack of a better word, would be detachable like it was on the Voyager toy, and it turned into those grabber thingies. I would have liked that. But other than that,
that bar, that beam bar, but for later.
Other than that, he is great. Like, just I have very few complaints about him. He is a good green boy, BOI.
Yeah. Eric, what about you? What are your positives?
I definitely like the size. I like the look of the robot mode. I think the size is definitely a big plus too. Like I think that he feels. I like his scale, is what I should say. Not that he feels like a super big deluxe, but that the scale. He also has ankle tilt, which I appreciate.
Mm.
I like the general look of his robot mode. I appreciate the accuracy of his transformation as well. And I think that's about it in terms of positives.
Okay. Jared, what about you?
Okay, sorry about that. Like Eric said, I just like the look of the figure. The look of the figure, the size of him. And yeah, the transformation is nice. It reminds, isn't it like a retool or remold of the Dark of the Moon Ratchet transformation a little bit?
I mean, it shares a character. I don't think it shares any actual engineering other than like.
The legs were similar to the Voyager, but there's
like
also
I don't think it has actual shared engineering. It's just like.
There's only so many ways you can do it.
I was going to say, it is a character with certain parts in certain places. So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of comparisons have been made with that Dark of the Moon Deluxe.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think it's close enough to say shared engineering, but I do understand why some people would say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically all I can really think of for this figure at the moment. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. For me, I gotta say, legs are really nice. I really like these legs. They have quite a nice range of articulation, and especially it's really neat with the pseudo mecha live kind of a thing going on, where like they're like the leg rotates around the pistons that you can see in the leg.
Oh yeah.
On the thigh. That's just fun. That's just neat. I really appreciate how the shoulders work. Because the first movie Ratchet admittedly had weird shoulders. Oh, that I did very much like that toy. Very nice, very clean. Got a bit of a backpack, but that's a relatively minor thing, but it could be cleaner. One thing I'm going to... This is just not a positive or negative. This is just a thing I never noticed until I got this toy. I didn't notice Ratchet had Dinobot thumbs.
Oh, yeah.
For 10 years until I got this toy. No.
Did you not have... Doesn't the first movie toy have that?
If he does, it's not as obvious, I guess, or I haven't touched it in so long that I just...
he does.
No. Then I just completely forgot the first movie Ratchet toy does.
That's interesting. I never thought about that being a surprise, but I guess that is, in terms of how they normally mold hands, that they'll usually just make the hands look normal, even for characters that aren't normal, so... for 5mm compatibility. Like they do that a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised. Is the Dark of the Moon Deluxe like that or no?
I never owned the Dark of the Moon Deluxe, so I
Okay.
can't say.
I was gonna say never mind.
I
Maybe
did
Soundjack's
own
just
that.
crazy.
I did own it, but I can't really remember.
I very briefly had it, and that might have just been a dream. So I can't say.
But let's get on to some negatives. Eric, negatives.
QC on mine is terrible. Like terrible.
Really?
Yeah, his hips are some of the most loose hips I've ever had. I think I can fix it. I just haven't gotten around to actually doing it.
His
But
hips
they,
lie.
I know, that's what I was gonna say. His hips do lie, and it's so sad. But yeah, they pop off. I literally cannot transform him without them falling off. And I don't even mean like in terms of like I can't pick him up by his leg. They especially I think the right one. His body would just fall off, which I'm like that's rough. But otherwise, I don't think I have anything else super negative other than the backpack. I feel like could have been compacted a little bit more, but like it hangs low. That's the thing. It's not like he's too big of a backpack. It's just that the bar hangs a little low for my taste. I prefer the backpack to be. I would rather have a backpack that's a little bit thicker, but at least just on the very top, than a backpack that is a little bit thinner, but goes further down, like past his. If it goes past the butt, I don't like it. So, yeah, those are just my things for him.
Okay. Chris, what about you?
Negatives. I really don't got anything. He's maybe just have the chest transformation be a little easier, where it has to like rotate around itself a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I got nothing.
But that's movie accurate. That's what I love. That's like one of the things I love most about him is his chest
No,
transformation.
I know. It's just that it's a little difficult. It was a little difficult at first. So.
But this is her most negative thing, and she seems to adore this.
I was gonna say that's a good problem
Eric,
to have.
This is me stretching, Eric. I'm trying to find something negative.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That like that's the worst thing you can say about your figure.
Yeah.
Is that it's too movie accurate? Yeah. No, I agree.
Jared, how about you?
Mine's not as bad as Eric's, but the hips on mine do lie a little bit, as they are a little bit loose, but not to the point of Eric's where you pick up the figure and they just pop off. And yeah, the backpack, I do wish that like they could have worked like another little hinge in there just to flip up the little light bar bit back up.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Jared's copying me.
Bit.
Wait, my interesting collide?
Or copies just copy. I mean, copiers copy.
That too.
Or you are the copier, Eric. You just copied his homework.
Oh snap!
You
Eric
got
got
me.
caught.
I broke into his house and found it. Did you even write it down, Jared?
Oh yeah, I got an entire like Google Docs page with all my positives and
I
negatives.
just hacked him. I didn't even go to his house. I just hacked him. There we
Yes,
go.
exactly. Totally.
Sorry.
Another would be no, you're good. Another would be, and this is a bit of a stretch. I would have liked a little bit more like silver paint on him or something, just to break up all the yellow and green. It's not a bad thing, but it's just something that kind of gets to me.
Okay. For me, yeah, the bar is weird that it hangs out. I'm surprised it just doesn't split in half and fold up with the rest of the roof.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been so much easier, as well as that's
Or
really
detached.
annoying. Yeah, sure. But for terms of storage, it would be nice to have that fold up. But also, I'm not sure about other people have this problem, but it's really hard for me to get mine tabbed in flush in vehicle mode for that top bit, because it's a bit of a soft rubbery plastic and it's kind of a little warped. It's just
a little bit. It doesn't usually take me that like that's the hardest thing for you to tab in out of the whole vehicle mode, but it's still not super hard for me. But
It's not too off, but like I haven't been able to successfully tap it in after like the first or second time. I don't think. Which is
just sucks at transforming Transformers. Actually,
you come over here and transform it and see how well you do.
all right, I'll do it. I'm coming all the way over there just to do that, and then I will leave.
Cool.
And never return.
Only other notable thing to me is like, while Robo Mode Scale is really good, and this may just be because I've owned the Deluxe, the Voyager from the first movie. The vehicle mode feels kind of a little bit small.
Not in terms of scale for the line, but no, I agree.
It's just small compared to what I'm used to. I'm going to repeat this point when we talk about the Voyager Optimus from the line from Studio Series.
Totally.
It feels a little small, but that's because the original toy I owned was huge and big and blocky.
I was going to say, if you look at movie 1, I like seeing the comparisons of movie 1, Voyager, because there's only Voyager, Ratchet, and Blackout, next to Studio Series, Ratchet and Blackout. It's like, whoa, there is a helicopter and ambulance that are the same size, and then there is a helicopter and ambulance that look like they're actually like reasonable sizes to each other.
Yes. Yes.
ZOMG.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the only other comments I have are like vehicle mode. I do really like being in. It's very tight and it locks in very well, except for the bar for mine. But yeah, very good toy for the most part. Anyone else have any last minute comments about Ratchet?
I think this is the only toy we can get repainted.
Yeah, because Dark of the Moon.
Yep, we can get a green Ratchet out of this.
Unless for some reason there's like a convention, a store exclusive or something that does like the red.
This is the only mold out of the. Well, unless they used Hatchet somehow, like if they used panels for Hatchet from the other Dreads, but I still feel like Hatchet's the one that would have to be almost completely different. But in terms of like this, that's the only one that has an easy repaint that is in the movies. There we go. There's your clarification.
Yeah, and we are also getting the gold Bumblebee out of San Diego Comic-Con, which does count towards the Studio Series tally of being at 19.
With little dino cassettes. Where should we lump? We have to lump that in somewhere, since that's part of Studio Series. At some point, we will.
We'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
Maybe we'll just do a video about the convention exclusives, because I'm pretty sure definitely everyone wants the Primal, the Throne of the Primes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Who knows?
But yeah,
like Chris said, cross that bridge when we get to it.
I said we'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
I heard you. I just ignored you.
I just want to make sure Soundjack heard me.
I did misremember what you said. I just remembered it was one of the bridge quotes, and I just forgot which exact one it was.
My favorite one.
Anyway,
I stole it from Ben 10.
So, any other comments from anyone else?
Comment.
I feel like overall this wave is good, but I think this is in my opinion, this is probably the weakest price point for the first wave, I think. Like, my favorite figures are from the Voyagers and Leaders, which we'll get to. Not in terms of not that any of these are bad. I just really like the Voyagers and the Leaders. So
they're really good. Yeah, definitely. This wave is a very good wave, but the Voyagers and Leaders definitely are stronger. So we're almost done. We just want to go ahead and list off who we each individually prefer from the wave, listing most favorite to least favorite out of this wave. And then we'll tally all that up, and we'll give you an overall preferred listing from Nerdy Geek Talk as a whole. So I'll just get started. I find Stinger to be my favorite figure of this wave, followed by Ratchet. Bumblebee comes in number 3, and Crowbar is number 4 for me. Unfortunately, I thought honestly that Bumblebee would be below Crowbar, but but Crowbar's just so meh.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about Crowbar. He's not bad. It's just very meh.
That even
Yeah.
all negative problems with Bumblebee don't make it a worse, a less likable figure, in my opinion. Maybe if he did have the wired hair, I think the wired hair would just straight up shoot Crowbar well above.
I think he'd be a magnificent figure if that was the case. He might even be number 2 for me if he had the wired hair, just because that'd be a new
True.
thing. But we'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, what's your ranking?
Stinger is numero uno. B is number 2 with Ratchet at a very, very close third. I partly thought about saying tied, but the QC with my Ratchet is just so bad and I was very surprised with my low expectations for Bumblebee and just the nostalgia I actually had with that figure, that I was like, oh yeah, I'll give him number 2, surprisingly. That really surprised me. But yeah, Ratchet's the number 3, and then Crowbar is number 4. Not because he's bad, he's just the most meh figure of the line so far.
Jared, what are your rankings for this wave?
Going from just personal experience with the figures, B is number 1 for me because of the nostalgic bit of it, because B was my first, especially this form of Chimera. B was the first movie figure I ever had, and thanks to the fact that I don't have any of the real QC issues that everybody else is getting, actually makes this pretty nice little figure. Stinger is a close second. I will admit that if this B did have the problems that everyone else is having, he definitely would be number 3 or number 2. Speaking of number 3, that would be Ratchet, and 4 would be Crowbar, because again, he's just meh.
Okay. Chrys, what are your rankings?
I'm actually going to change mine from what I said before. I'm going to put Ratchet at number 1. Because talking about it made me realize how much I actually do like the toy.
I like how you just messed up Soundjack's tally.
I careful Excel spreadsheet. No.
Sorry, Soundjack.
This is why you're the worst.
Yes,
So
I fully admit.
does Stinger move down to number 2 for you then?
Yeah, Stinger's number 2, Crowbar's number 3, and B is number 4.
Okay.
That's just the only thing
it doesn't screw the numbers up too much.
Yeah,
it doesn't change the placement of any character, does it, in our overall?
No,
I would
there was nothing that was 1 point off.
Do you want to say the others? Like,
Yeah,
I know we have an overall, but
yeah, I am going to read off Miguel and Zeus's. They aren't here, and of note, both of them don't own all of the figures. Actually, I'll start with Miguel, since he got his stuff to me first, and I gotta find it again. Sorry.
Oh, and I'm the worst.
So his listing was Ratchet, Stinger, Bumblebee, Crowbar, and he noted that order of what, and this is a listing of that is his order of what I would prioritize grabbing if I had any desire to. He wasn't visually impressed by the Deluxes as he was by the other size classes, which is why he opted out, as that's what he told me. So he doesn't actually own all the figures, but that's what he would prioritize getting. And then Zeus only owns 2 of the figures. He didn't tell me which ones. I should have asked him which ones. But for him, it was Stinger was number 1, Ratchet was number 2, Bumblebee was 3, and Crowbar was 4. Though he did originally send me the list having Bumblebee and Ratchet be a tie, but I asked him to not have a tie. So he just wanted me to make sure that I know that Ratchet and Bumblebee were very, very, very close. So, with all of that being said, for the overall Nerdy Talk review rating, Stinger would be the most recommended figure out of this wave, followed by Ratchet at number 2, Bumblebee at number 3, and Crowbar at number 4. So, yeah.
There you have it. If you're going to buy one out of this wave, our crew recommends Stinger.
Yes,
Not
yes.
surprisingly.
Yeah, or if you're feeling really, really, really lucky take a shot in the dark with Bumblebee and pray for the best.
Well, he's
Go to-
not. He's not even second. He's
He's
third.
Yeah, I know.
Get your B in Vegas. Maybe you'll have better luck.
I don't think most people have great luck in Vegas. In all honesty, that's why Vegas makes a lot of money.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
that's true.
Just saying.
It should cancel out then. I know how this works. Totally.
But that's our first Nerd Geek Talk review on Studio Series Deluxe Last Wave. Well, not our first review on those figures, but our first review overall, and that happened to be on those figures. Like I said, this is going to be a new series, bi-weekly series. I'm going to ask if you want to just leave some comments wherever you are listening about how you like the show, if you think we could do something different, if you think there's a good way for us to shorten the time. Don't ramble, Soundjack.
Or Chrys.
I think it was mostly me, to be honest, because Anyway, I'm going to ramble if I keep talking about that point. But you can listen to this podcast on the Nerd Geek Talk Network. You can follow us on YouTube, and you can listen to us. Where can you listen to us, Eric?
Let's see. Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean. I think that's all of them. Yeah.
I should just write that down.
Oh, and YouTube, if you didn't mention that.
I did mention the YouTube.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, go follow us on YouTube. You can follow Nerd Geek Talk on Twitter as well, and you'll get notified whenever a new podcast comes out. Again, and there's a bunch of other podcasts, the main one being the Steel City Bots podcast, which is also a Transformers podcast. Again, this series we're going to try for this to be a bi-weekly series, so don't expect us for another 2 weeks after this one. But we will be back with the Voyagers for that one. But before we go, and I should have saved that bit till the end, social media for everyone else. Eric, where can people find you?
You can find me at Eric Crowbar, and also make sure to check out the Steel City Bots Twitter at Steel City Bots, because we are doing a tiny but fun little giveaway over there for a Prime Master Submarauder. I know in the last episode of Steel City Bots I did say that it was going to be a Prime Master. I wasn't sure which one. I went out and bought it today, so it's Submarauder. So go to the Twitter, and then we will be doing ones on other social media, but go check out Steel City Bots to find more about those. So.
And to clarify, Eric is the one doing this.
Oh yeah, I made
giveaway.
that very clear. They know.
Not
It's
me. So you won't receive it months later. You'll receive it in a timely fashion. I can never apologize enough for that.
Yep, that's why she's banished. But anyways.
From giveaways, at least.
Speaking of banished people, Chrys, what's your social media?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Soza Productions. That's my secondary account. I'm not on there too often, but I will see it if you tweet stuff at me. So you can ask me what I prefer from other toy lines, because boy howdy do I have opinions, and boy howdy do I love sharing them. So other than that, you can find me on YouTube at Sonozawa Productions. I don't put too much stuff on there. I might actually do a recording today of just me playing some Minecraft in this Transformers resource pack I'm currently using. It's the same one I used at the New Year's live stream. But I'm rambling, so I'm just going to shut up now.
Jared, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Jared Proco. That's where I'm at basically all the time. If you have a question about something that I got, or something that was like just recently released, and you want to know my opinion on it, you can ask away and I'll try to respond. You can also find me on Instagram at procjar00. That's where I have just recently, a week or two ago, started posting my take on the hashtag deskbots, and that is the hashtag nightbots, where I wait till it's dead night, pretty much, turn out all lights, get a colored light, and take a picture of one of my figures with the light shining on them, and they actually turn out pretty nice.
Very nice. And as for me, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I did mention my YouTube channel before, as there will be, if you want to watch a full-on review of the individual figures, the YouTube description at the very least. I don't know how the podcast sites work, but the YouTube channel the YouTube video will have links in the description to my reviews of the figures once they come out. The Bumblebee one is already done. I do have to work on Stinger, Crowbar, and Ratchet, but once they are out, you can check those, find links for them in the description. And my YouTube channel is predominantly a Transforming review channel. I do also have my own podcast called Soundjack's Rebels, where I talk about different nerdy stuff, and there's a couple other things that happen every now and again. Instagram, I share photos of my toys, and Twitter is pretty much where I just go to hang out. So come on by and say hi. And that is it from us. So thank you for watching, and until next time, bye.
Sayonara.
Bye-bye.
See ya.